But a zonal forum is a service-oriented sharing or business session that provides the means by which NA communities can communicate, cooperate, and grow with one another. This is from, I think this is from a former version of GWISNA, although not a part of NA's formal decision-making process, and that actually has changed in recent conference cycles. World services and zonal forums interact in many ways. And so as of the last World Service Conference, zones became a part of the decision-making process, as some were seated at the WSC, and specifically any zone with 2 or more unseated regions may now send a zonal delegate who will have a voice at the World Service Conference. So here's a picture, you all might be familiar with it. It's the zones in NA, 8 of them are in the US, 2 of them are Northeast Zonal Forum and Autonomy Zonal Forum, which collectively cover over half of the eastern seaboard from the northern tip of Maine to the southern tip of Virginia and out to West Virginia and Western Pennsylvania. And so you see it there, and their zones are basically collections of regions that get together to share best practices and potentially, in some cases, provide services. And here's sort of also from the Guide to World Services is the NA service structure, the inverted pyramid that we talk about so frequently, with the groups being at the top and working our way down to area service committees, regional service committees, and zonal forums. And what you see here is, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but on the left-hand side of this, basically these are all possible that exist, which connect from the group all the way to World Services. But on the left, you see group support forum, local service conference, regional service committee, to the delegate, zonal forums, and potentially a zonal delegate representing at the WSC. More commonly, you see group, area, region, zonal forum, and this represents if there is a 2 or more unseated regions in a zone, they would get a delegate. This one on the right here is the one that most closely resembles the Northeast Zonal Forum and the Autonomy Zonal Forum, where you have groups, an area service committee, a regional service committee, but that the zonal forum exists outside of what we call the delegation stream, meaning our zonal forums don't have a delegated vote to the World Service Conference because all of our regions, except for one in Autonomy Zonal Forum, is seated, I think. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, that's right.
And so the Northeast Zonal Forum, just a quick history. In 1980, the idea of the NEZF surfaced at the East Coast Convention. And those of you who are here long before me can feel free to jump in. I pulled this from the NEZF history off the website and in the guidelines, but discussions of the NEZF resurfaced at the WSC in '92, followed by a New York City multi-regional, where the Western States Zonal Forum and Canadian Assembly presented on zonal forums that they had started to adopt. Around that time, the NEZF Statement of Purpose was written. It started as discussion-based and best practice sharing among regions, how they could be better effective servants at the World Service level. In year 2000, the NEZF guidelines were drafted, and in 2009, the website was created. So we're the 12 regions of the Northeastern United States, and actually I think we might be 11 now, because I think that tri-state out in Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio maybe joining the Midwestern Zonal Forum, which would leave us with 11. We meet once every 6 months in in person with rotating hosting schedule. Every 2 months, we meet virtually via Zoom, and we're composed of delegate teams of the 12 member regions. We have an administrative committee, including a chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. We also have a web servant and a standing PR and fellowship development subcommittee with PR and fellowship development chair people. Historically, we've been a discussion-based body, but over the last couple of years, we have started to evolve pretty rapidly. Since 2019, we updated our guidelines to include multi-regional service efforts, coordinating and facilitating multi-regional service efforts. We formalized PR as a standing subcommittee. NEZF treasurer position was created. A bank account was created. We had our first 2-year strategic planning session in April 2019. And one outcome of that 2019 strategic plan was that we now have a fellowship development standing subcommittee. And here are just a couple of events that I just had photos of from my time since I joined the NEZF here. This is actually in my home region in Saco, Maine, where we did a PR learning day led by our PR ad hoc at the time, it was an ad hoc at the time. Now it's a standing subcommittee. This is from Saco, Maine. This is Rochester, New York, where we did our first strategic planning session. So that's a little bit about the NEZF. So the Autonomy Zonal Forum, it started in 92, or the idea of it started in 92. It began its evolution in 92. So it's a service-oriented sharing and/or business session composed of multiple regions that provide a means by which NA communities can communicate, cooperate, and grow with one another. And that's really similar to what the NEZF is here to do. So this is sort of AZF has been meeting since 92. Chesapeake, Potomac, Eastern Pennsylvania, Free State, Greater Philadelphia, and Mountaineer and Central Atlantic regions. So that's 6 regions. And I think Eastern Pennsylvania is unseated and the other 5 are seated. This is just a record of AZF meetings since 93. So you can see it's been meeting regularly since 1993. And then you start to see sort of an evolution toward not just meeting and discussing best practices, but having learning days coordinated by the AZF, establishing a web page in 2006, World Board participation at the AZF in 2008, consensus-based decision-making workshop in 11. Members came to consensus to be more than an informational zone and started its first planning session in 2013. In 2015, the mission and vision statements were accepted. A PR event followed in 2016. Started working on non-delegate service positions like facilitator and secretary in 2018. And the first zonal 2-day event was in 2019, where they voted in a facilitator and secretary. And I think, so there's no direct funding to the Autonomy Zonal Forum currently, and a future discussion is to discuss working on a financial plan and budget. And so yeah, that's just an overview of who the NEZF is and who the AZF is. And so I wanted to turn it over to the group and maybe just spend a couple of minutes